Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Fanalysis, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I am Retty4, this is Greyjoy91.
Hello.
This is Turk McGurk.
Greetings, my good Hotman.
And this is Antoine Bundelay.
Be water, my friends.
Lead us in with a summary, Matt.
All right, this is Book 2, Episode 10, The Library. And in this episode, the gang, they start off just kind of looking to go on these sort of like little mini vacations. And when it comes Sokka's turn, he decides to go looking for this like legendary library that they hear about by happenstance. And they have like one hell of an adventure at the Spirit Library out in the desert. This is kind of like one of the most famous episodes of Book 2, I would think. This is one of the ones that immediately comes to mind when I think of Book 2. Yeah, let's get into it.
Completely agree with that straight off the bat. Yeah, it's a very unique episode in kind of what it brings to the table. So it's definitely one of the outliers on my end too. I like that the introduction is kind of tied to them playing around, but also makes it fit the kind of quest they're on as well, because they can't, now that he's got these teachers and he's learning the two elements that he can readily learn, it makes sense that they're going to kind of meander a bit because they have no set destination. Until obviously this episode, they have no real next step true. Aside from him just learning the elements. So I like that they made that make sense.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And also musical moles, that's always fun.
Yeah, musical moles.
Dorothy opening, love it.
I liked your note about how well, I mean, this is like skipping a little bit, but about how Toph needs to qualify her vacation time, like because she hasn't been with the group very long. That's like a cultural divide between where Callan lives and where the rest of us live. We found out. Yeah,
because here you get statutory holiday, like 28 paid days free just by default. So it's so weird to me to say think you have to earn them. No, people don't take them immediately, obviously, because that's just rude. But you could do if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because she's the one that tells Sokka what they're doing. Like, yeah, we're picking vacation places, and later he's like, no, not for you.
Right, you have to earn them. You have to be here for longer than you have been. It's just like weird.
You have to work here a little longer, is what he says.
Yeah.
I like the thing that Aang. Well, I guess it was Katara's choice, the Oasis thing, but and Aang's memory of it though was like this like grand, wonderful place, and like they
pristine.
Get there and it's like a melted popsicle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says pristine, and he's like, and I don't like often use the word pristine, so wow.
Yeah, you can just imagine what it might have been back in the day, and then it's not anymore because it's very easy to forget, even for us, having watched through it all this time, that it is 100 years ago that he's familiar with. Everything that he's talking about from his vast experience as a traveller isn't up to date, which is a good story mechanic if nothing else. Giving him that ability to kind of lead in elements that they're going to encounter, and then have it be turned on its head, or if just flat out wrong now.
I like the mundane
maybe it's change
nature.
Management. It's so cute.
A few times by now.
What's the change management?
I like the mundane nature of it too. It's just like, oh well, it's not what it used to be, but it's not like, oh, the firebenders came and ruined this too. It's just like, you should have seen it in its heyday. That's just the kind of thing that happens in real life.
Yeah, it's important actually that it isn't tied to the Fire Nation as the reason for its downfall, because it, like you said, it just adds a little bit more flavour to the world, because things are happening outside the invasion. This isn't people aren't just solely concerned with the war. It's nice to get some mundanity around.
Now, this is like, so they're in like this little town that surrounds what used to be the Oasis, and that's where they kind of they stopped to get something to drink. And I always liked this scene where like the guy was like chopping the fruits and putting them in ice bowls. That's like something I would like to actually exist. I'm sure it does somewhere, but I would like to go to a place like that. I don't know about you guys.
It's very satisfying to watch that kind of thing, just being able to just so casually dice through everything. It's slicing, not dicing, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And this is where they run into the plot, I guess you could say.
Yes, yeah. Jumpstart it with Professor Zay.
Professor Zay.
Yeah.
You guys play Kodor?
Yeah, he is Karth.
Yeah, he's Karth Onasi. That's like the first thing that I noticed when I first watched the episode. I was like, oh, it's Karth Onasi! Okay,
you get a gold star from me, because I was expecting somebody to call him Caden.
I was about to, but I thought, no, I won't annoy him. I even put it in the notes and took it out.
Yeah, before he was Caden, he was Karth.
Yes.
Oh, Caden from Mass Effect. I was like, wait, what? Who? No, he's Karth Onasi. He is Caden.
I rescinded it from the notes because I knew I'd annoy Matt with it, so I thought, okay, fine. He's Karth.
To be honest with you, I just don't have much experience with Caden because I saved Ashley.
Same.
But that's just,
and then I regretted it.
Yeah.
It's boring either way.
Yeah.
They're the two most bland characters from there. But anyway, that's way off topic.
Yeah.
He is Carfo Nasi, though, the
Right.
voice of, and yeah, I like the character. He's kind of he's the right kind of wacky for me to fit Avatar. He's a nice, humorous little quirk to bring into the scene.
Mm-hmm. And so he's the one that he knows about like the library, or like, but he knows it's like kind of like a legend. Like he's not even sure it actually exists. It's just
Not that he mentions that straight away. He treats it like it is. It's
yeah,
definitely
he could have been more
place.
transparent about that.
Yeah.
That's true.
But he's been looking for it for years and has been making regular expeditions into the desert and has ultimately come up short, and assumes that's going to continue. But because these guys are bringing a flying sky bison, it helps shorten the journey somewhat.
And their goal was going to the library to try to bring down the Fire Nation. Is that correct? It's been like a week since I watched this one.
Yes,
I thought we were
yeah.
gonna watch
No, that
it
is
before.
it's the
Like,
idea of
that's why
looking
Sokka
for a
decided to
map
go.
specifically, or any information on top of that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just generally Sokka making use of his vacation trip, which I agree definitely turns out to be the best one, despite the flaws.
He looks through Professor Zay's like tome, and he's like, "Oh, and there's nothing from the Fire Nation."
Because like that's
yeah.
he would have turned to the library.
Then he's
after
like, "Oh, we'll
failing
just go to
find
this
it.
library." Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Sure.
So Sokka decides it's
Looking-
going to be his choice of a holiday, basically, and they then set off into the desert with Appa as that advantage, and we get that wonderful Toph joke that's kind of lasted the test of time, with the "there it is." Da-da.
Mhm.
I love the musical turn that plays in the background as they all run over to see it as well. Because again, it's another thing you tend to forget even as a viewer that Toph can't see. So that when those gags come up, they can sometimes be humorous from the fact that you'd forgotten yourself as well. At least certainly me back in the day. It's very easy for me to forget that she can't see. That's why I'm always curious about that damn star thing. Cause did the creator just forget, or was Katara being that much of a?
No, that's you. You want to assume the best of Katara at all times,
she's
but
being an ass.
she was being an ass.
But yeah, they arrive at the library regardless, though, because they find or at least what they think might be the library, because it's only the top spire left until Sokka points out that no, it's the top of the library, and they begin to go in basically after they see the
And
the
it's
helper.
because they find the foxy
Yeah.
helper, I forgot about that joke.
Yeah. It was a funny joke as well. Are they handsome or are they a fox? Actually, it's probably both. And yeah, it is.
So thirsty.
I like them being gatherers of knowledge as well. It goes back to that whole cultural kind of inspiration that Avatar's built on, with the Western, Eastern, cultures having such a high value on foxes.
Mm-hmm. So this is the point where like they get inside like the library. Oh well, Toph decides not to go because well,
I've held books before, and
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
they don't really do it for me.
which is really lucky because like they would have
Yeah.
really been like completely screwed if she hadn't stayed out there. Not that she would have planned it
Yeah.
that way, but she at least was able to give them a heads up of what happened to Appa, which wouldn't have happened otherwise. They would have been totally screwed.
oh yeah, and I mean to say nothing of the fact that she managed to slow its descent. She was very useful out
That's
there.
ridiculous. If that doesn't prove how freaking strong she is, I don't know what the hell would.
Precisely. She's only young as well. She's not at her prime. But yeah, it's classic Toph being overpowered notion there. But I like the idea as well. The fact that she wouldn't be interested in going in, so of course she wouldn't. It wasn't just. It is obviously Britain so that they can get away with this and have someone know that Appa's been taken and by who. But I like that at least it made token sense.
It's funny that she actually tries to strike up a conversation with Appa, not that he can talk.
Yeah.
But she's like, "What's up?"
And later on, when it cuts back to her, I told you I don't want to cuddle.
Yeah.
I'm not the type. Yeah, no, it's a nice little entrance as well. I like the design of the architecture of the building. We see on the note the schematics, or whatever you want to call it, the parchment that Zay has available. I like the design of the temple, even though we never see it fully rendered in this episode.
Yeah, it
see the
looks a little
interior.
bit like the Taj Mahal or something like
Taj
that.
Mahal from India, yeah, definitely. If nothing else, it invokes that kind of aesthetic.
Symmetry.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
like
It's and also the way it's
there's a-
presented, like the actual the parchment itself. That's the kind of profile you always tend to see the Taj Mahal and similar buildings. It's always that kind
actually,
of.
I don't think I've seen it from any other angle. Actually,
Yeah.
Now I think about it.
Yeah, so
Apparently,
kind
it's
of
really
stands out.
trashy on the other side, and that's why they always choose to present it on that angle, or at that
Makes
angle.
sense. It's like the pyramids
know
of
that.
Giza.
My world feels smaller and like less light in it now. Thanks a lot.
I apologize.
Sorry.
You want to go
I'm
to
just
Dubai,
kidding.
right?
I still want to go see
That's
it.
true.
Like I can at least see the angle, the angle from the pictures.
But yeah, they go inside to the library, and we get the. I think it's definitely the coolest spirit for me. On par with Ko. Ko's obviously got that darker tone, so it's a bit of different flavour. But yeah, Wan Ching Tong is awesome. I've always loved this creature. And when he morphs, it's terrifying. Yeah.
He's a little dark too, though.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. He's not light and fluffy, but compared to he's not he's more neutral than evil. He's just sick of humans shit, humanity's shit, which is understandable because every time someone comes in here, they're looking to find the destruction of their enemies, as far as he's concerned, which they are to an extent, or at least assistance in that regard.
That's pretty much straight up what Sokka wants at any rate.
Yeah.
But I like the presentation of knowledge as well. The idea that you have to give something to receive it in this library. It fits the kind of I don't know. It's a nice introduction to that spiritual feel of the place. It's not just a case of of course you go to the library, stamp this card and check in. It's a case no, you must for this level of knowledge you have to contribute
some sort of knowledge. Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. What I think is creepy about him is how when he speaks, his beak movements don't really match his voice. It's almost like I'm not sure that you're supposed to have the impression it comes from that, or if it's just like a mental communication or what it is, but it's creepy.
And as well, he's kind of got
it's creepy before he gets really creepy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even when he's being perfectly cordial or amiable, to at least to the extent that he's not immediately killing them. I mean, I get where you're coming from. It's like that. He's got a clipped cadence, but the way he's clipping his lines doesn't line up with the actual clipping of the beak. So it's like there's that kind of that desync that just unsettles you a bit. It's very nice effect. His voice as well is impressive. I like how unique it is for the show, kind of thing.
I looked up his voice actor, and I don't know him at all, and I already forgot his name. It's a Spanish name, or it's like Hector something. But it was a really well done performance, and I like finding unique voices like that I don't automatically know. Oh, it's you, Karth, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. 10 voice actors.
Yeah. So it was a nice surprise having someone different because I've never heard of him, as far as I know.
And it's a really strong standout performance. Again, it's another reason this is one of the episodes that people remember. It's just the presence that this creature has in the story, despite having a minute role. Again, another Ko, basically, because Ko is just completely insignificant to the overall story, and yet, you remember them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've basically just entered the library, and he's contributed the knowledge. So I suppose that counts. And he manages to insult Sokka. You're not very bright.
You're not very bright, are you? Yeah. I always remember that line.
Yeah,
rude.
Sokka, as the creature then flies over the edge, and swoops down into the library, the depths. Sokka is like, smart enough to fool you, and we enter into the library proper. Which is great design as well. The actual building itself on the interior. I know we said outside. The interior is very strikes that nice balance between spiritual and eerie and mundane. It's a combination of all three, which you kind of need for something like a grand library, especially a spirit library.
Random side note: I built a library in The Sims and named it Wan Ching Tongs.
Oh, we've all done that though. We've all done small things like that with various different games and books and fictional stuff. I know I have. And then we cut up to Toph and Appa having the first bit of conversation, which again is just your usual them trying to bond or trying not to, as in Toph's case. But the important bit of information we get here is the fact that Toph explains her issue with sand, which I like because again a little bit of a limitation on someone who otherwise is ridiculously overpowered, and explains why the events unfold as they do later in the episode. The fact that she can't see as well as she often can because of the blurriness.
I like as somebody who is currently struggling to watch an anime that Callan wants me to watch with him. It's it's actually not that bad, but I'm not used to the tropes. And one thing I can't stand is people just talking to themselves at endlessly for no reason. I like that. She at least has somebody to bounce this off of in Appa. Because people talk to their pets or whatever. Not everyone does, but some people do. So this makes sense. I'm not just going to expound exposition to myself pointlessly. This made sense with the trope.
So the audience, it's you're talking to the audience, but without breaking the fourth wall, kind of.
Yeah, completely agree. And definitely one of the flaws of anime, even if you do love it like I do. It is not a perfect medium, but this particular instance of it works really well. It's her talking to Appa, having something to say because she's probably feeling awkward at this point, and also getting the information across to us because we need to know why she's going to struggle as much as she does in a minute. Otherwise, it doesn't really fit.
That's true.
I guess she's not trying to offend him either. She's like, nothing's anything wrong with Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Her vision looks fuzzy.
Yeah, she's trying to make a reasonably good first impression because she's not been around long with Appa yet.
She had a kind of oh shit, no pun intended, but she did have kind of a rocky start with him, like because like she was I caught myself before I said it. Would she like realize that Azula and her crew were tracking them from the fuzz clumps? Yeah.
It was his fault, but yeah.
All comes back to being Harry.
So then they get to. You said that we've established that he found he needs to know what happened on the Fire Nation's darkest day.
Well, yeah,
Sokka
stumbles into the note after he's sort of looking around every corner he can and finds the scroll at half burnt that says about the Fire Nation's darkest day. So they think, okay, this is something. Go to the Fire Nation section, to look, as you probably should first in the library if you're looking on stuff for the Fire Nation, and find that it's been burnt to cinders, which I like. It's a really it's not really a reveal of a moment, but it kind of feels like it because it dawns on you. Oh yeah, of course, the Fire Nation guy was here. Of course, they've burnt all the information related to them. It fits the story, and I like how it wasn't played as this big emotional moment in the scene, but it only quasi played as that anyway. But it really felt like it was a big missed stepping stone for them. I like how it was stop, start, stop,
it's
start.
It's one of those
this
so close and yet so far.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that one. It's that feeling captured in the bottle right there. And we get the introduction of the small light of hope that they do have from the knowledge seeker, the fox that guides Sokka to where he needs to be.
So that's how they found the planetarium.
Yes, he leads them to the fox leads them to the planetarium.
The fox leads them.
This is like a really cool just set piece. I like the idea of this room. I don't know that if I owned it what I would ever do with it, but it is really cool that it exists. It's like an awesome just artifact to me. I don't know how it's cool that they get this degree of use out of it, but it's all that they could ever really use it for. They'd never use it for anything else.
Yeah,
aside from maybe trying to predict like the next lunar eclipse or something.
Yeah, they put it well in the scene. I think just. Sokka saying, "Not this isn't really pretty, but what use is it?" And Aang saying, best holiday vacation spot ever. They did a good job of kind of selling this is legitimately awe-inspiring by itself without distracting from the reason they're there. I like the blend of it in the moment, and you're just looking at the starscape as it kind of passes over. It's really cool. I like the design.
And it makes sense that like they find it where they find it. Like it would be really plot convenience if like some ally they bump into just has this in their wing of like whatever like castle they're in. It makes sense that the knowledge spirit has a device like this in this world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I like that. But yeah, it's kind of like they figure out there's a missing ingredient that they go back for at some point, right? But like they figure out that an eclipse happened. Is that what happens?
Well, they know the eclipse is happening, but they need to work out exactly what date it's happening on. How long they've got to it.
Okay. All right. Well, wait. Wouldn't they already know that by checking the dates? Or no, they need to know the next date of the next one. I get what you're saying. Okay.
So he checks all the days that happened before Sozin's comet.
Yeah, because after
that's
that... don't worry about after that.
That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I'll try to think about that, yeah.
I mean, that's what he's trying to do while the place is already sinking, right? Like that's why I had attention to that.
As he finds the actual eclipse itself, before learning the exact date, he celebrates. Yes, this is what we're going to use to destroy the Fire Nation, and obviously that's when
enter Wan Shi-tong
enters. Yeah, humans are so predictable. As you sort of creepily crouched over him. I love that moment.
He's a creepy bird.
And this is when he kind of switches into dragon owl bird as well, because his neck extends.
Yeah, there's something like serpentine about like his appearance after this. Now, this moment when he does that, I don't remember. I think for some reason, and I might be completely wrong. I think this episode aired during like the summer, and like I was doing something during summer vacation and not watching it. But I remember my dad, who had not been previously into the show or watched it with me, back when it was first airing. He told me like, "Oh, you missed like a really cool episode of that Avatar show you like." And like, this is the episode that got him on it because he really liked this bird. Like chasing
cool.
him. He just thought it was like super. He still remembers it. He goes, "Yeah, I remember. That's like my first episode that I watched and paid attention to."
That's awesome.
Nice.
But yeah,
it's like sorry.
It's very specific to the show. Like the I don't see. There's lots of like sort of creatures when you look at like Miyazaki, like certain things like that, right? But this design to me, it's one of the most Avatar things that I've seen.
Absolutely, it's why it stands out to me as such an iconic part of the show. It's a really, again, it's not really relevant. He could have almost not been in the episode, and it wouldn't have really changed anything. But you don't care because it's just those. It's the small moments, they capture that iconic appearance that matters in the show. It's the stuff
His
that makes
presence
Fluff.
alone, I think, makes this really memorable.
Yeah.
Same with Poe.
It's striking.
For
It's
sure.
dramatic. It stands out in your mind as being just a really cool thing, regardless of the relevance to the rest of the show. And the rest of the episode and the information they discover is relevant. So it isn't just this filler episode as it would be in so many other works.
I also like the gravitas of like the moment where he's like, I'm taking it back, and like he flaps his wings and like just like the ritual of it, and I really like that.
That's very.
It's not like he just like just waves like his hand and like he teleports the library back to the spirit world. He's like syncing it through whatever. Like it's just cool.
I'm
like
taking my knowledge back. It's the flapping of the wings, which are in theory just his own equivalent of airbending the building down, but he could have just easily just knocked a pillar or like you said, teleported it away or something. Like you're not clear on
interesting
what
thing.
kind of magic this is.
The fact that he claims he can bend. Like is he the only spirit that we
or
know
that he knows the
has,
styles?
Studied?
We don't necessarily know that he can actually do it, but it's not clear.
It seems like he would be really up his own ass. Like if he was like saying to Katara, like I've studied your style, and it's like I'm ready for it. Like if he couldn't do something to it,
He
but
really, I think that is the point. He is kind of up his own ass.
Wait, so you think
with that kind of neck, possibly literally?
You think that moment would have just like he'd fall on his face, like if she had like bent water at him and go, oh shit,
No, I think that like he would probably
he'd just know how to counter it.
Counter,
he'd know how to get around the water or something.
With whatever
you're about to make a water whip. I'll dodge the whip. That kind of thinking and ethos. But one thing I want to mention as well before we accidentally move past it. We don't know what happened to the Fire Nation on its darkest day. I love the reason I make a note of that. Aside from the lore tidbit, is I love the delivery of Sokka when he says, I don't know what, but I do know why. And when he's kind of ticking it over in his head and working out what's happened, I love the explanation of that moment. I don't know why. It's I don't know what, but I do know why. It's just the delivery.
What's really interesting to me about that is they didn't learn their lesson. Like this seems like it has to have been forgotten history, because the only reason the Fire Nation is prepared when an eclipse happens is because Azula learned of the plan and warned them. So
or they have no way of tracking the next one at least.
They have to have, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to be prepared on that day. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
did they know the exact date though?
Yeah, they knew. Like they were hunkered down.
They
like,
prepped
no, I know that much, but I mean, was that not because they'd already knew from Sokka or his information anyway?
All that they told Azula, I think, when they thought she was a Kyoshi warrior, was that
attack
so
so I guess
they didn't say like the date or anything.
It was 3 months from now or something. I don't know. Regardless, though, regardless, they would know from previous occasions because it's not going to have been that long since the previous one necessarily, I guess.
Well, the darkest day though may have been like way. Like,
that's what I mean. It could have been eons ago, and it's like a really fast spread because it wouldn't be like every year.
That is
or
interesting.
every year,
I hadn't thought about that. It's like they know about it. That's going to happen, but like, how do they track that? It's strange.
And like normally, there's probably like vast chunks of history where it's not relevant because long ago everything was fine, right? People like living in peace. So it's now that we're in a war. Yeah, we have to have a game plan on that day before Counter-Strike happens.
And I like the whole plan as well. The fact that Sokka is coming up with this this kind of second deadline for them. It helps raise the stakes a bit more. It helps give the mundane side of the situation a bit of time to flourish, because otherwise it is all just destiny and Avatar state, and you will defeat him when you can on this day.
The end of summer.
Yeah, at the end of summer, by the end of summer's fall. This is just a nice way of changing up the timetable a bit and giving them something to do. If nothing else, giving them something to do for this book when they've got the bending teachers available to him. Because until the firebending needs to be learned, the gang don't actually have to do anything else at this point. Aang just needs to learn the bending techniques. So it's a nice little narrative vehicle for the rest of the story to kind of pick up the pace.
Yeah, it definitely opens the door to like maybe you don't have to face the Fire Lord. It's the only hint of that that they really figured out all this.
Well, then that becomes their mission for the next several episodes, almost to the end of the series.
It's the only.
Like, we got to get to Ba Sing Se with this information.
Yeah, it's the only chance he's got of like facing the Fire Lord where the Fire Lord doesn't have Fire Lord strength, you know. So there's that to look forward to. And it's like it's funny because it's only like I don't know how long an eclipse lasts, but only like a couple minutes. That you have
they really don't have
bullseye
long.
vulnerable. Yeah,
And then because apparently this clearly doesn't happen very often, it's like, oh well, another 400 years from now we'll have another chance.
it's really funny how like you have like in the same like month or whatever it is, like you have Sozin's comet coming, which bolsters them. Plus, like, oh, we just got over with an eclipse where we could do jack shit. Like, it's really funny how quickly that happened.
Yeah, the order.
But anyway, I like to think that in like a Earth Kingdom colony, that was like a dark day for somebody at school, like an Earth Kingdom bully who picked on like a Fire Lord or Nation kid on the eclipse, and then when Sozin's comet came like next week, remember last week? That'd be bad.
Oh god, yeah. The mundane things that we never see in the main story, all the side plots that happened out there.
But anyway, so Topside, that's like Toph's dealing with the arrival of the Sandbenders at this point, right? Somewhere in what we've been talking about. And they like immediately just like steal Appa, like they don't like inquire about it, right? Like
nope, they just go, oh look, that might be valuable, steal, and leave her alone, which is funny because she probably would have been way more valuable to them, especially given on the sand where she's most vulnerable, but obviously they have no way of knowing that, so missed opportunity.
They don't realize.
She's the heiress to one of the richest families in the world.
There's a reward for her. I never thought of that. That's a good point.
So
they couldn't have known about it, but it is funny, like they're passing over something that you don't realize.
Never judge a book by its cover. I mean, not that the bison isn't valuable, of course, but they missed that one. She, though, valiantly tries to hold up the tower as it's sinking, and successfully, actually. She slowed it down heavily. They would have all died without her. But as a result, and also her blindness, she is unable to stop them from taking off Upper, because every time she tries, obviously, the temple just drops and plummets.
She has no way of seeing where they are too. Like when she throws out like a strike and it's like way off.
Yeah, it's like I like that. It's the reasons that she's so incapable here are twofold. They didn't just stop at one excuse; they gave them both. And as well as giving her a way around the sand thing, because she's vulnerable, but she's able to mitigate the problem at least partially when she draws the sand together and forms a platform for her to stand on as she sinks in the first time. So it's nice that they're thinking all of this.
Yeah. I think it's a really good tense moment because she's it's not really so much that she's really helpless, but she's helpless to change the circumstance and she's forced to make a choice, and neither one is especially great because all she's doing is holding that, like they have to rely on themselves to get out. So like for her, she's really like shit, like I don't know what's gonna happen, like mentally she doesn't know, like that's gonna be like a really hard headspace to be in, if you get what I mean.
And aside from losing her friend, it's what that means for her personally. If this goes, if Upper flies off and then this temple goes down,
she's like stuck in the desert.
Stuck in the desert, blind, completely useless. So it's not going to be a good time for her. It's another nice tense ticking clock added onto the crisis, because obviously we know that the temple's sinking. They know they've got to get out quickly. But this raises them up. Can Toph hold on long enough? Can they get out and save Upper in time? It's just. It's nicely laid out for us.
I like the restrictions and limitations that they put on even a character like Toph, who's super OP. Is like the whole can't do sand bending. Obviously she can't see. That's her biggest.
Yeah,
weakness.
That's the big one.
But yeah, I that's such an awesome thing.
I agree. It doesn't happen very often, so we have to make note of it, like when it does.
And she soon gets over the sand bending difficulties because the next time it's encountered, it's like, oh, never mind, she's now master.
Yeah, it never really comes up aside from this
the sandcastle, Barsing Say.
I just think that's a neat way, like as far as like writing characters, when you have characters that are OP, usually people are just like, oh, they're just OP, they're a bad character. I'm like, but there are ways to make them to sort of level them out, you know what I mean? You can't make perfect characters, so I think that this is a good use of that, personally.
Yeah. And we basically have the gang fleeing Wang Shitong as well, as it's sinking. Again, just really creepily just chasing them through the library aisles. extended kind of serpentine head looping around the corners and stuff, which just adds a nice. You get the feeling that you are being chased by it from the way it's dynamically shot and angled with his face,
and the
and
music
the point
and
of
everything.
views.
Yeah,
It's really well done. But the important thing to note is that Sokka realizes, wait, no, if we go now, we'll never know when the next eclipse is. It's an important.
Stakes are driven even higher.
Yeah, precisely. It's the well-paced sequence of tension is established. Immediate threat is hammered in, and then you've got raising with Toph, raising with the stakes of Sokka having to go back, raising again with the Professor to an extent because he stays behind, of course. Presumably gets through one shelf in a week and then dies because he doesn't have any food or water, and he clearly didn't move very far. He didn't get past that one bookcase, as we know from Korra.
He's crazy.
He's mental.
He was.
Yeah.
That was like a trope from like 90s cartoons, was there was always like the zealot who was like, I'll stay behind and die with my beloved thing. It's like pretty much every cartoon I watched had at least one episode where somebody pulled that card.
Mm-hmm. The importance of balance.
But anyhow,
the importance of balance and knowing your limits, or knowing limits full stop in general.
For
sure. But yeah, they find the eclipse date using the planetarium, and again, we get, as we said earlier, we get that line where he's like, "What if it's we can't go through everything ever? We don't need to, just the next few months, because otherwise, don't think about it."
Yep, which is very true, as we know. We see what like Sozin's Comet brings with it.
But I like that again. It gives that explanation. It all fits together. That this isn't a case of them. Oh yeah, let's just go through 500 years worth and just spin it round. They actually have the time for this because they know their own limitation, and if the eclipse isn't coming up before then they just pass up and move on to the next opportunity. Yeah, it fits and makes sense within the narrative without any real warping or anything or forcing it.
I agree.
We as Sokka and Aang are returning from the planetarium, of course, we get Katara and the rest of the gang that are up trying to get to the ropes and escape. We get her failing to fight. This is when we mentioned before, obviously, of Wan Chi-Tong knowing her style and failing to fight him, and him being ultimately brought down by Sokka style. Because we mentioned in the previous episode that his failure of the leaping from the tree to take on the moose lion cub didn't work, and it worked exactly perfectly for Wan Chi-Tong. It's like, that's called Sokka style. Learn it.
And he's had so many moments like this. Like, there's always, I can think of several moments where he comes in last minute, like, does his Sokka thing, and you're like, okay, cool, thanks, Sokka.
It's so funny how bipolar he is in terms of being like the most useful or absolutely useless, as we'll see in the desert.
Yeah, completely. Most of the time, it's a kind of reflection of bad luck rather than any change in his agency. But the next episode in particular, you're right. There are occasions where he's just being a complete moron,
a little erratic, and it's just a natural curiosity.
It depends how much time they're levying on the humor within any given episode. So if it's like a big, dramatic, tense, story-driven, plot focused episode, he'll be on point and he'll be doing what he needs to do. But if it's just a case of, okay, this episode we need some light humor, we need some side story that doesn't mean anything, he'll always revert back to that moron.
He'll do something stupid.
Yeah, he'll get stuck in a hole, he'll get high on cactus
he's not
juice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, he's not. But I think that he is fairly well balanced because I don't run into too many people that like. I think I've met some people that like don't really care for him, but like there's very kind of not very many, I should say. You know what I mean? I think most people can get behind him.
You've met people who are wrong before, basically.
Well,
no, I mean that's only a joke. They're not wrong to have issue with him based on his bipolarness. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely agree that the balance is more in his favor.
Yeah, it's like I don't think I've really found many people who find him like terrible. Like they just go, he's like a little much or what. You know what I mean? Which I think is good because the guy's a comic relief who's not too controversial or like polarizing. I think that's an achievement in and of itself, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed.
We're kind of wrapping up here now, right?
Getting to the end. They escape, thanks to Sokka style. Get up out of the library, and we get the realization from Aang that where's Appa, and that's the tone of the episode that we leave it on, following in for the next one. Because we don't get a resolution to that question. It just kind of does the whole fade out and episode end.
Cliffhanger.
And it kind of marks a shift in tone for this book from this point forward. It's now less the episode by episode adventure and more more than it has been.
I like
anyway,
how that
more the through-line
I like
story.
how that pairs with what you were saying at the beginning of this about how they don't really have a like destination point in mind. They're just kind of meandering around doing their learning the elements thing, but not really heading straight for the Fire Nation at this point. This now places them on the trail where they don't really have that much degree of choice. Like we have to go to Ba Sing Se, have to find Appa, have to bring this plan to like the Earth Kingdom leadership. You know, it's like it puts them with Appa. That was like their chain. They were free, like to go wherever they wanted to go. Now they have like a chain, you know, like a leash or something, like tying them to this particular trail for the rest of the book.
Restrictions, which is good. Yeah, more complications to make their journey even more interesting.
And it's like I said, it's the layered approach to it. It's not just a case of we need an emotional change, tonal shift. Let's get rid of Appa. We need to get rid of their freedom. Let's just get rid of it. We need to give them some more direction for the plot and for the quest. You know, it's not any one thing. It's all three in one go, which is it's difficult to do on like this kind of it's fantasy epic scale that they've managed to weave into the plot. So I like that they managed to pull it off all in one episode as well. This could have been like a 2 or 3 episode escalation of issues, and it's not. In the space of 20 minutes, they've managed to establish all 3 of these.
Yeah.
It kind of is in the sense that like we don't really deal with Appa's loss until the next episode. But,
for sure. Yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, by and large, the actual introduction of the element, if not the exploration of it, it's still impressive.
In fact,
It
I
changes
think
the group.
sorry, I just realized that I think these 2 aired back to back. Like
they may have done.
There's
actually.
like it was an hour long. It was kind of like the drill in the Serpent's Pass or whatever it's called. I think it aired like that.
Yeah, and I think it might have done with Amashu as well. Oh no, and then shot going with Amashu. There may have been a few things in this entire series that did that actually. I don't know if I'm misremembering that one, but it's been a while since I've seen it on TV, obviously. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. The episode ends with Aang, immediately registering in sadness that Appa is missing, which will, as we'll know from the next episode, will very quickly change to not just sadness. Putting it mildly.
Right.
But with that said, that's this episode. I'm Retty 4 and I still don't have an outro.
Great Jedi 91. Outros are stupid.
This is Turk McGurk. Stay flaming.
Just pretend that was just you 3.